Back in the early 2000s, the most expensive poker series of all time took place. This wasn't the WPT or the WSOP. These were games typically hosted at the Bellagio between a billionaire and a whole crew of professional players. Millions were exchanged in single hands. Some legacies were destroyed. Others were born. But there's no denying that everything that happened in Sin City over this time will likely never happen again. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of all of this, but before we do, make sure to subscribe to Poker Boom, and let us know what other crazy poker stories you'd like to see us cover. Okay, here we go. High-stakes poker has always been shrouded in mystery, allure, and the thrill of astronomical sums of money changing hands in a single hand. Among the most legendary stories in this exclusive world is the tale of the Corporation versus Andy Beal, a series of poker games that would become the most famous and the most expensive in history. But who was Andy Beal? It's a name that now resonates deeply within the poker community, but he was not a professional poker player by trade, but a self-made billionaire with a passion for the game. Born in Lansing, Michigan in 1952, Beal's journey to wealth began through real estate investments and eventually banking. By the time he became involved in the high-stakes poker world, Beal was already a towering figure in finance, known for his analytical mind, propensity for risk-taking, and his methodical approach to everything that he did. Now, Beal's interest in poker stemmed from his love for math and game theory. His approach to poker was as much a mental exercise as it was about the thrill of the game. However, unlike other amateur players, Beal was determined to challenge the best in the world at their own game. He sought out the highest stakes imaginable, where the potential for loss was as monumental as the potential for victory. This ambition would lead him to face off against a group of poker legends known as the Corporation.
In the Corporation was, you had to post $500,000, and you had to play in Bobby's room in the big game.
The Corporation was a group of poker pros who banded together to pool their resources in order to take on Andy Beal. The reason for this alliance was simple. Beal's bankroll was so immense that no single player could withstand the swings in fortune that such high-stakes games would inevitably entail. By forming a collective, the pros could distribute the risk among themselves, while also combining their considerable skills to take on Beal. The members of the Corporation read like a who's who of poker boom royalty. They included Doyle Brunson, regarded as the godfather of poker, who brought decades of experience and a deep understanding of the game. Chip Reese, widely considered one of the best all-around players ever. Howard Lederer, known as the Professor, and Phil Ivey, a rising star at the time, who would later become one of the most feared players in the world. Other members included Ted Forrest, Gus Hansen, and Jennifer Harmon, all of whom were dangerous in their own right. The showdown began in the early 2000s during a time when poker was beginning to experience a resurgence in popularity, thanks in part to the burgeoning online poker scene and televised poker tournaments. Now, this was still a few years before Chris Moneymaker would bring poker to the masses after his victory at the 2003 WSOP, effectively jump-starting the poker boom. However, what Beal and the Corporation were engaged in was far removed from the spectacle of the World Series of Poker or the World Poker Tour. This was a private, high-stakes war where the blinds were astronomical and millions of dollars were changing hands in a matter of hours. The games were typically held at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, one of the few places with the capacity to host such high-stakes action. The stakes in these games were mind-boggling by any standard, even within the poker world. The blinds often started at $10,000, $20,000, and could escalate to $50,000, $100,000, or higher. This meant that each hand could result in 6 or 7-figure swings, a level of risk that only a select few could stomach. The format was usually limit hold'em, a game that Beal preferred due to its reliance on mathematical precision, something he believed gave him an edge. Beal was known for his aggressive betting style and his willingness to push his opponents to the brink, leveraging his vast wealth to put pressure on the Corporation's players. One of the most memorable sessions occurred in February 2004, when Beal went on a massive winning streak, reportedly taking the Corporation for more than $10 million over several days. This loss was a significant blow to the poker pros, who were not accustomed to being on the losing end of such large sums. The Corporation was shaken, but they were not deterred. They knew that they had to regroup, and they had to adjust their strategy. The Corporation's response came in the form of Phil Ivey, who was brought in as their secret weapon.
He is absolutely fearless. He can have any 2 cards at any time, and he will play them like they're aces. That puts people under a tremendous amount of pressure. It's very hard to play against Phil.
Ivey, known for his unflappable demeanor and keen instincts, faced off against Beal in what would become one of the most legendary encounters in poker history. Over the course of just a few days, Ivey methodically dismantled Beal, winning approximately $16.6 million and effectively reclaiming the losses that the corporation had suffered. This session marked a turning point in a series, demonstrating that even a billionaire like Beal could be outplayed by a true poker master. However, the toll on both sides was significant, and Beal, despite his immense wealth, was starting to feel the strain of these enormous swings. The corporation, while victorious in the end, had to deal with the psychological and the financial stress of playing at stakes that could alter their lives in just an instant. So by 2006, the series between Beal and the corporation had come to an end, with the corporation emerging as the ultimate victors. Beal, who had lost millions during the final encounters, decided to step away from the game, recognizing that even his vast fortune had its limits in the face of such fierce competition. But Beal has definitely been seen at the poker table since, reportedly losing up to $50 million in just 3 poker games, where players put up buy-ins as high as $1 million. These games allegedly involve Toby Maguire, known for his involvement in the Molly's Game poker scandal. There's way too much around that particular scandal to get into here, but if you want to learn more, we made a whole video all around that, so go check it out. The link is in the description. But back to Beal. One of his representatives denied the number was as high as $50 million, saying, "The amounts concerning Mr. Beal are inaccurate. Beyond that, Mr. Beal has no further comment." So who knows, but knowing Beal's track record, the number definitely does not seem out of the question. The aftermath of this epic series left a lasting impact on the poker world. The corporation versus Andy Beal became the stuff of legend, a tale of high-stakes warfare that would be told and then retold in poker circles for years to come. It also cemented the reputations of the players involved, particularly Phil Ivey, whose performance against Beal is still regarded as one of the greatest displays of poker skill ever witnessed. But beyond the individual accolades and financial outcomes, the series also marked the end of an era. The sheer scale of the game, the personalities involved, and the private nature of the matches created a mystique that is unlikely to be replicated in today's poker world. The rise of online poker, televised tournaments, and the democratization of the game have made such exclusive high-stakes encounters increasingly rare. Also, the personalities involved in the corporation were unique. They were a combination of old-school poker legends and rising stars who came together for a singular purpose. The poker world has since fragmented, with many of the game's biggest names pursuing individual goals rather than collective challenges. So at the end of the day, the story of the corporation versus Andy Beal remains one of the most fascinating and dramatic chapters in poker history. It was a clash of titans, both in terms of the money involved and the skill on display. And while the chances of seeing another series like it are remote, the legacy of these games continue to inspire and captivate poker enthusiasts around the world. Because this story is not just about poker, it's about the thrill of risking it all and the quest for victory. If you want to learn more about this story, make sure to check out The Professor, the Banker, and the Suicide King by Michael Craig. It's a fantastic book and it really dives into all the intricacies of the story. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching Poker Boom. Let us know in the comments what kind of video you want to see next, and we will see you in the next one.